Short Major League Baseball card on Monday, but we've still found 3 winners for you on the docket here on the Morning Wager, plus a look ahead to Game 3 of the NBA Finals and the first half trend that maybe some of you already know, but the rest of you need to be aware of. All right, Zinno, time to get us started. Twins, Rockies. You think there's going to be some runs in this one, don't you?
Yeah, look, the Twins are not a team that I normally want to play on when it comes to doing anything offensive because their offense is terrible. But they're facing the Rockies and starting pitcher Dakota Hudson. And outside of having a state for a first name, which is almost as bad as having a country for a last name, his ERA is really bad. He's 2-7 with a 5.25 ERA and a 1.52 whip. And he's given up 33 walks in 61 innings. All that is bad. So let's hope the Minnesota lineup can actually do something against a bad Colorado starter here. But on the flip side, for the Twins, Chris Paddock isn't much better. Also an ERA in the low fives at 5.26. His whip, 1.4 and change. So this is a guy that, I don't have a lot of faith in. And the Rockies, if you get into the analytics here, BP, their hard hit rate and everything on the road, especially in the first 5 against bad starters, is pretty high. Plus, we get the Colorado bullpen, which is the worst in the majors. Highest ERA, most hits allowed, highest whip, gives the Twins plenty of chances late in this game here. I expect a lot of runs to be dropping, a lot of bombs to be going off in Target Field. And let's go the Twins and Rockies over. There are some 8s out there right now. I'd still play this at 8.5. So anything at 8.5 or less, shop around, try to get an 8. But if not, 8.5 also works over 8.5, over 8 in Minnesota and Colorado.
Yeah, of course, 9 is the key number, one of the key numbers in betting baseball totals. All right, that's a total from Zinno. I've got a side for you. Astros minus 115 over the Giants. Both teams coming in slightly below 500 on the year. Giants 32 and 34. Stros are 30 and 36. But you know what? Time for fun with BP's power rankings, Zinno, because I've got Houston 11 spots higher than San Francisco in my power rating. So I am not at all surprised they're the favorites here, even on the road. Disappointing result yesterday for the Stros, but they've scored 7 or more runs in 3 straight games, as well as 5 of their last 6. I don't dislike Spencer Arrighetti as much as a lot of other people do. He's really only had 2 bad starts when you break it down. One of them was his very first one against the Royals, who are obviously better than expected. And the other was on the road against the Yankees. Royals and Yankees, 2 of the, get this, only 10 teams in Major League Baseball that have a winning record at the moment. So, when he's not facing one of the top teams, Arrighetti's pretty good. And outside of that one start versus the Yankees, he's allowed just 2 home runs all season. And at the end of the day, this just boils down more so for me to the fact I don't think the Giants are very good. Kyle Harrison, their starter for today, he's trending in the wrong direction. 6.19 ERA, 1.81 whip his last 3 starts. During that stretch, he's allowed 13 runs on 26 hits, including 4 home runs. Houston's the rightful favorite here, guys. Lay a short price with them. Astros for me, over Rockies, Twins for Zinno. We got a show best bet coming up here in just a minute or so. That's a play both Mark and I like, oh, by the way. But if you're looking for even more MLB winners, and don't forget about the NBA, and we've got some finals talk coming up as well, be sure to head on over to WagerTalk.com and take advantage of our latest special offer where you can get 7 days of winners for just $77. I am no math major, Mark, but I believe that works out to just 11 days per day to get every single winning pick from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper. Maybe that's Mark and or I. Mark, what do you have cooking for Monday to get the week going over at your page?
Well, look now, BP. We put together a little bit of a baseball run over the last 3 days in case you guys haven't noticed. 6-3 over the last 3 days. So starting to heat back up on the diamond here. We'll have 3 plays tonight on the card. Again, kind of looking at a new sort of philosophy, and it's sort of paid off. So we're going to continue to look for money lines and totals that fit the profile that we're looking for here. But heating back up on the diamond. Way back in the day, April, I was top handicapper on WagerTalk in the sport of Major League Baseball. So we're rounding back into form here after a little bit of a down month of May. So June is treating us quite well. Go over to wt.buzz/MZ. Get all 3 of those Major League Baseball plays tonight for just a small price of $19.
Yeah, I had a winner on the diamond as well Sunday with Texas. NBA was not as lucky. My God, Dallas cannot hit threes. We'll talk about that in a few minutes again. But still 33-18, my last 51 in the NBA. 96-56 going back long term. Also, I mentioned MLB. I mentioned NBA in that 7-day special. Don't forget about soccer. The Euros get underway on Friday. I am on a 17-5-1 soccer run, white hot on the pitch, going back to April. And, one more time, no coupon code is needed on that 7-day special. You just go right to your favorite cappers page and get it right there. Again, that is 7 days of winners, all sports from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for just $77. Right now, I will have at least one MLB play for Monday. Check back. There could be a late ad. All right, show best bet time, Mark. You and I both think the Padres are likely to have a good series against the A's, I think. Dylan Cease on the bump tonight for them. Tell the people how this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, San Diego at home against Oakland here, and finally they snapped out of it. At least the Bats did in 2 of the final 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They snapped that 5-game losing streak. They scored 10 and 13 runs in back-to-back games. Didn't end up that well on Sunday, but here's the real edge. Outside of Dylan Cease going for the Padres, San Diego was home against Arizona. The Athletics just finished up a series in Toronto yesterday, flying back cross country to go back out on the road. Not a favorable spot for the Athletics. And look, this is an Oakland A's team right now that is flat out not hitting the ball on the road. Get this, BP. Bottom 3 in batting average, bottom 2 in runs scored, 26th in Major League Baseball in OPS and WRC plus since May 1st. This is an offense that doesn't score. You give me that along with a starter like Dylan Cease, who feels like he needs a good get-right start here coming up after being tagged for at least 3 runs each of his last 5 starts. This feels like the spot where we get the Dylan Cease we saw from earlier in the year. We'll lay the 1.5 with San Diego tonight at home against Oakland.
Yeah, you look at the rest of season projections, Fangraphs has the A's among the very worst teams the rest of the way, I believe only ahead of the Rockies and White Sox. So San Diego minus 1.5. It's not often, Zinno and I like to lay the 1.5 for the home team, but it is justified here. That is your show best bet. Let us know down in the comments section below what you think of that play. Also, feel free to drop your favorite MLB bets for Monday. And if you'd be so kind as to smash that like button, give this show the old thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate that as Mark and I continue to dole out the free winners every Monday through Friday here on WagerTalk TV. And to ensure you don't miss a show, go ahead and click the subscribe button. That gives you instant alerts when our exclusive sports betting content drops here on the channel. Okay, Game 3 of the NBA Finals, Mark. I guess my first question would be, is Dallas dead? But odds makers don't seem to think so because this caught us by a little bit of surprise late last night before bedtime. The Mavs have been installed as short home favorites for Game 3. Clearly, this is the books expecting the public to be on Dallas yet again. They were a public dog in both Games 1 and 2. Is that what this is? This is not a true measure of the team, but rather the odds makers anticipating a potential influx of Mavs money for this must-win Game 3 for them.
And look, the other part of this, too, is what they are hoping for is, well, they're hoping for a little kitty to show up with the baseball. That's wonderful. Thank you. What they're really hoping for is that they'll get a lot of Dallas money line play at around minus 120, minus 125. And then in reality, if you get Boston, to win the game, they end up making more money than they would with laying the 1.5. So I think they're challenging people and challenging bettors, saying, look, if you're going to take Dallas here, we know you're not going to worry about the 1.5 or the 2. You'll take it on the money line, you'll pay the premium, and they'll get out of here. But I think you're 100% correct in the standpoint of the liability on Dallas as a underdog at home in Game 3 is crazy. What I think is also crazy is just a 8.5, 9-point swing between Game 2 and Game 3. Just for reference, BP, remember,
yes,
Boston was a 10-point favorite in Game 1 against Indiana, 7.5-point favorite in Game 2 at home. When it flipped to Indiana, they were still a 5 or 6 point favorite. You lost like a point and a half. To swing that many points. And I get it, Tyrese Halliburton didn't play in that game, but still, Halliburton, let's just say he's worth 2 or 3 points. Still, that's only a 3 or 4 point swing. I would understand Boston -2. I would understand Boston -2.5. But this is a 8, 9 point swing in one direction after one game. No way. Way too much going back on Dallas. So my initial gut reaction is Boston. Take them here, on the money line or whatever. Take the 2 points if you feel like you need it. But nonetheless, I think this is a massive overreaction by odds makers. Now, again, overreaction with a purpose because they want to make sure that they get money back on the other side. Because making Dallas a 3-point underdog at home would have created a liability that they probably didn't want to deal with.
Sure. And, again, you just take a look at what Dallas failed to do, couldn't get the job done in game 2. That's a missed opportunity because Boston was not hitting their threes. Tatum and Brown collectively have not been great. So if you're Dallas and you're looking at yourselves in the mirror right now, you're not feeling too good about yourselves. I wanted to say that, let me get this in real quick. I was wrong about Dallas's team total last night. I don't hate the handicap in retrospect, but I should have listened to myself earlier in the week because if you caught me on WagerTalk today, last Wednesday, I said to bet Kyrie Irving under 23.8 points per game for the series. That's looking like a really good bet right now. I mean, he would have to average 35 points, I think, in the next 2 games just to get to that average. They've held him way below. I mean, it's basically just Luka and 4 other guys on the court saying, please save us, Luka. That's what the Mavs offensive strategy has been. You wanted to get something in there, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things here. I'll address Luka and Kyrie here in a second, but in the macro picture, Boston is not going to have another bad shooting performance like they had last night the rest of this series. They're just not. And Dallas missed a golden opportunity to take a game where Boston played its absolute worst on the offensive end, and they couldn't do it. That's a bad sign for the Mavericks. And I am more mad, you talk big picture, I'm more mad at myself for getting sucked into a ton of narratives and buying into the fact that Dallas could hang around in this series when I was the one screaming since the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston is the better team. Boston's just Boston is better than everybody on both ends of the floor. And what's happening here is that if you bet, we talked about this, Joe Ranieri and I talked about this, that you bet Luka's points props over or you pass. Luka, his points prop last night was 31.5. You know what he finished with, BP? 32. He had 23 in the first half and was so exhausted in the second half because nobody is helping him out that he's just got no legs left in the second half of the game. He should have scored 40 last night easily. And again, you and I will talk about this as we get closer, but I kind of want to just put this in people's heads now because I think the information is worthwhile. The role players always play better at home, right?
Yes.
Okay. If we believe that to be the case, and we saw that from Boston, explain to me what role players on Dallas are going to have a good game. Because guess what? Whether you want to choose Lively, you want to choose Goddard, you want to choose Washington, they're all bigs. So go inside against Horford, go inside against Porzingis, and let me know what kind of game you're going to have against this good of a defensive team. The only other shooter not named Kyrie or Luka is Joshua Green. So if they don't get any shooting from the outside, guess what? Nobody is going to score inside. Boston is too good defensively. There are no role players on this roster that are going to have these phenomenal games unless Horford gets in foul trouble early or Porzingis isn't 100% and hurt. That's the only way that they have a path through. Otherwise, they got to shoot their way out, and the only guys who can do that are Luka and Kyrie.
And their 3-point attempts are way down in this series. Only 53 attempts in 2 games for Dallas because Boston's doing a good job of running them off the line. You look at Luka, obviously he's banged up. You saw him before the game. His ribs were all taped up. He's looking like Diamond Dallas Page. Someone in the comment section, please like that reference. I beg you. But if you do like the Mavs, I'll say this. This has been a great spot to take a home team when they're down 0-2 in the first half. Going back to 0-6. Teams down 0-2 in a series and returning home 91, 47, and 1 against the spread. That's 66%. I think you and I both agree Dallas is not getting it done in game 3 unless if they come out strong. If Boston gets out to a lead, not even a lead like we saw in game 1, but if they get out to a lead, because Dallas played great in the first half in game 2, and it didn't matter. But you and I talked to each other at halftime. And I was like, Boston's going to cover this, but Boston's going to take care of this. Yeah,
I mean, again, for sure. When they did get when they had a 13-6 lead in the first quarter, and they couldn't lead the first quarter by more than 3, that was a massive failure for the Mavericks last night. By the way, and I did the math, and I don't know if you saw it, it's out on Twitter. The Mavericks had 3 different scoring droughts in the first, second, and third quarter. of at least around 3.5 minutes or longer. They went 11:55. That's 5 seconds shy of a full quarter without scoring a point in a game. And you think they're going to beat Boston? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They cannot have 3 and 4 minute scoring droughts, especially with that guy there on the defensive end. So it doesn't look good for Dallas. I will add this to your trends since 2003. Hey, Kitty. Since 2003, teams in the finals that have gone down 0-2 on the road to come home for game 3, they're 6-0 straight up. But again,
Okay,
I'm not buying into that trend here at all. I'm not. I think Boston is a better team, and I still think they win the game in game 3.
All right, as we're going through those lovely graphics here on the screen, just a reminder, talk about injuries, talk about Luka taped up. Porzingis didn't look 100% healthy by the end of game 2 either. Just to put some numbers to what we were just talking about with the first half here. So Dallas is currently -1.5 at most shops for the game. As we're recording this, I see DraftKings is the lone 2 for game 3. But if you go to the first half, Dallas is -2 for the first half. So this is another thing where the odds makers are anticipating people betting on that trend of Dallas in the first half. We've got 48 hours to talk about this because the NBA loves spreading these games out. Game 3 is, of course, on Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern time. All right. That was an extended game 3 finals breakdown, I think, for Mark and I. So we're going to wrap the show up here. Remember to check out that 7-day for $77 special going on right now at WagerTalk. We'll be back on Tuesday with more MLB and NBA talk. Until then, thank you for joining us. Let's catch some winners.